Happy Monday, everybody. As always, I hope that you all had a fantastic weekend. We'll give it a second and make sure all the streaming things are working, and we are, in fact, live. It looks like we are good to go. Things are working. Excellent. Awesome. So, without further ado, welcome to Live Monday Music Motivation. I'm so excited that you're here. This one's going to be a little bit different than normal, which I'm also excited about. This is going to be a really fun and really tangible and actionable one for you because I have a little bit of a challenge that I want you to sort of experience this week in your practice. The context for this is last week, this last Saturday, just a couple days ago, I did a video talking about frustration and sort of the source of frustration in our practice and how to shift our mindset a little bit to avoid frustration. So I want to take the ideas from that video and I want to apply them this week. And I want to challenge you to have as close to zero frustration in your practice as possible this week. Yes, it's very difficult to be perfect and get completely no frustration, and it's okay to have a little frustration crop up here and there. But what I really want for you is to have awareness of that frustration and to try out the solution from Saturday's video on how to actually avoid that frustration and sort of solve that frustration. So in case you haven't watched the Saturday video yet, here's the brief overview of what I talked about and how to avoid frustration. So the source of probably all frustration is a difference between our expectations and our reality. So this comes up in clarinet playing or in music where we expect to be able to play a piece like we heard it in the recording at a tempo we heard it in the recording, but when we try to do that, it's not coming out well and there's a gap between how we want it to go and how it's actually going, and that leads to frustration. The solution that I proposed in that video is to simplify your expectations, sort of temporarily lower your expectations. It's great to know eventually you want it to be this good, but don't expect yourself to be able to play it this well on day one. Realize that you're going to be more about here on day one. Then you can sort of gradually inch forward and grow as you practice, because that's what practicing is about, and that's what happens if you deliberately practice with the end goal in mind, but with realistic expectations so that you aren't frustrated. So what I want you to do this week as you're practicing, have in the back of your mind, or maybe even the front of your mind or at the top of your mind, be aware of how you're feeling about the practice, how frustrated you are, how satisfied you are in your practice. And when you find yourself having those feelings of frustration and thinking I'm not getting this the way that I want, I wish this was going better, whatever those feelings are that sort of bubble up as frustration for you, have a little light bulb go off, have a little warning bells, alarms this week to say oh, I'm feeling frustrated. What did Josh say to not be frustrated? Simplify. And then do it. And I bet 99% of the time, by simplifying, that frustration is going to go away. The very best way to simplify is to go slower. So oftentimes in frustration, we'll have maybe this one interval isn't a smooth connection. We're struggling to keep up with the fast notes. We're playing this measure of 16th notes and we keep missing a note here and there, or have a little sloppy transition or some extra junk between a note here and there. When that happens, and when you start looping it and falling into that sort of pointless practice where you're doing the same thing over and over and kind of just hoping that it's going to fix itself, light bulb, alarm bells. This is pointless practice. This is frustration. Simplify, go slower, do a smaller chunk. Do whatever you need to do to sort of lower those expectations and meet yourself where you are right now. And it's not going to be a linear growth of every day you're going to get better and better and better as you're practicing. You're going to have some good days, you're going to have some worse days, and that's totally par for the course and something that you should be expecting. So you can have that kind of flexible expectations to just always be meeting yourself where you are. going for getting it correct. It doesn't have to be full speed correct. It doesn't have to be the full piece correct, but getting that little bit that you're working on at a comfortable speed correct, feeling in control. And that's what will develop and allow you to play fast, play accurate, and play how you eventually want it to go. So that's your challenge for this week, is to sort of have those spidey senses turned on and be really aware of those frustration points, and then working to simplify them so that you can make that automatic and hopefully maybe never have frustrating practice ever again, because there's very little benefit to the frustration. I will say my video coming up and next Saturday will be talking about when frustration is okay and how frustration could actually be a good sign that things are headed in the right direction. But we'll save that for this Saturday's video. I'll just give you a little teaser. And then the most important thing for your practice, besides not being frustrated and having satisfying, productive practice, is to actually make sure that you have a plan and schedule for your practice. So as always, for our Monday music motivation, we have our practice template for the week. You can see mine. You can go to the link in the description at quickstartclarinet.com/get-started to download this, or just make it for yourself. Date for the week, reflection on how things are going, your goal for the week. And you can see mine is kind of along the same lines of avoiding frustration, of making sure that I'm not in a hurry to get the piece learned, make sure that I'm really deliberately practicing it. And then most importantly, your plan for when you're going to practice, what you're going to practice, so that you can plug that into your calendar. You'll also notice if you go in the description, there's a link to last Saturday's video where I talk about frustration more in depth and talk about this gap between your expectations and how to simplify and things like that. There's also a link for the Next Generation Clarinet Method, which, if you don't know, is my method book / method program. It's a book. There's over 160 videos of me explaining and working through things, and it sort of covers all of the fundamentals for clarinet and music and really establishes that good foundation. I put that in there this week because I think it's really relevant to this idea of frustration-free practice. I find another way that we often get frustrated is not knowing what to practice or not knowing how to practice it to get the most out of it. And I think the Next Generation Clarinet Method does a fantastic job of solving both of those problems, because there's sort of level-specific timelines, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and it tells you, do this exercise with this focus. You watch the videos to see the demonstration and the explanation of how to actually practice this to get the most out of it. So it's like building in what to do and solving that frustration, and also building in how to do it and how to do it in a frustration-free way by really getting down into the core and going deep with the fundamentals on it. So if you're looking for some more frustration-free practice or want to have something to kind of test out that ability to not be frustrated, then that might be a good resource for you to get as well at quickstartclarinet.com/nextgenbook. And that link is also in the description. So that's all I got for today. I hope that you all have a fantastic week of practice. And most importantly, don't forget to fill out your template so that you have your plan for when you're going to practice and have your reminders and have your schedule set so that you can have a great week of practice. I hope you all have a great week of practice. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the next live Monday Music Motivation. Have a great week of practice, everybody. Bye.